calling the business meeting of the South Country Central School District for December 6th back into 7th, December 7th back into order. Hold on, and now if we could just please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Vice President Hayes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just reminding everyone of the emergency exits in the event we need them, to my right and to your left, and then also directly to the back of the room. Please exit in an orderly fashion. Would also just like to remind everyone that South Country Central School District is a smoke-free school district, and smoking is not permitted in the building or anywhere on school grounds. This is also a hate-free and bully-free school district. Thank you. All right, so we're going to take our first consent agenda item. Mr. Superintendent, are you recommending approval?
Yes, the administration recommends the approval of items contained in items C1 through C5.
Okay. Need a motion and a second for items C1 through C5. Motion by trustee Barry, seconded by trustee Trent. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. With all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously, and we are now up to the superintendent's communication and announcements.
All right, thank you, Board of Trustees. I'm going to get right to it with my report. I apologize again to the public and the trustees for the late start. We're going to right to it. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is our inclement weather plan. We are in December. One of the biggest stresses a superintendent has is calling snow days. And everybody always wonders, how come they call them so late? So I kind of want to go over what our plans are, because we need to be prepared. We never know when this time will come. So anytime that schools will have to close because of weather, the decisions are generally made. We have generally in italicized by 5:30 a.m. One of the things the public needs to understand is that we don't want to lose instructional days. There's a minimum number of instructional days that the state requires us to have. So typically, sometimes snow days are built into the system, and so you can take a snow day and enjoy it. But school districts are very reluctant to call those because of the impact it has on families in terms of childcare and all those other things. So typically, a superintendent will wait until there's confirmation that we cannot safely operate the schools to make that call, and that usually comes before 5:30 a.m. All delays and closings will be posted on our district's website at southcountry.org. And again, families and community members will be receiving an email and an automated call indicating that the schools will be closed. If you want to check the radio, there are various radio stations that you can check. What I personally like doing is just Googling Long Island school closures. You get a website and literally lists all the schools in real time. But you should be getting that automated call pretty quickly. So those are some of the channels, yes.
Quick question on that, because this is inevitably would be asked of every board member the first time a flake falls. Is it permissible to have remote days on snow days?
I'm going to get to that at the end of my slide.
Okay, cool, so it's in there. All right, thank you.
In there. So 3 types of things that happen when the weather is not good. One is a closing, and if there's a closing, that means all of our district programs are closed, including our preschool programs, or rather our before school programs and our after school programs. For delayed openings, it's always a 2-hour delay. What happens is everything gets pushed by 2 hours. Obviously, the morning or before school programs are canceled, and so students should report to their respective bus stops 2 hours after their typical time. Schools are dismissed at the regular time in those cases. Sorry, I went backwards. And finally, we have early dismissal, which is a rare sort of practice. But if there's weather in the forecast and we know it's coming before dismissal, we typically close the high school a half hour early. We want older students to be home before the younger students. That's kind of the rationale for that. The middle school and Frank P. Long will close about 15 minutes early. And the elementary schools, believe it or not, close approximately at their normal times, and the message is sent out alerting families to this information. But typically, an early dismissal is rare. What I've seen in my practice is either a full closing or a delayed opening, which means that everything's delayed by 2 hours. So to Trustee Patini's point, unless there are a large number of snow days, my philosophy personally is that a snow day should be a snow day. And we do have snow days built into our schedule. We do have the capacity, as we all know from the pandemic, to go remote if we needed to. That's really a last option. If we got to the point where we needed to make up X number of days, and because we've already burned a few snow days, then that's something that we would contemplate, whether or not we still have an instructional day. To the point of information, New York City will have no more snow days. Their days are remote if New York City closes, but New York City almost never closes, so we have that. But just be on the watch. Hopefully nothing will happen before the holiday, but just be mindful of inclement weather. Something else I also wanted to talk about is, and I didn't think this year I'd be talking about it, but we do need to talk about COVID-19 and a basic health update. As of March 2022, all of our COVID restrictions were pretty much lifted, and we went back to normal, including mask mandates, social distancing, social tracing, and all those things were kind of lifted. However, there's a whole host of new viruses that are kind of making their way through our communities. COVID is one of them. We have the flu going around, influenza. We have RSV, which is a respiratory virus. I've heard of some stomach bugs going around. And I think, and I'm not a medical professional, but a lot of it is because for the first time we're congregating again. We're exchanging germs and our bodies are reacting to it. But there's been a surge in cases. This week, we got the mandate from the state, Department of Health, that we're going to start reporting COVID numbers again. Not necessarily to the public, but we have to report them to the Department of Health. So far this year, and just so that we're sort of honest and ahead of it, these are actual numbers as of last Friday in our school district of how many positive COVID cases we've had. At the high school, we've had 15 total cases, 11 student, 4 staff, and you kind of see the progression there for a total of 89 cases since the start of the school year. Again, there's no need for tracking, contact tracing, but there are some things you can do to keep yourself safe. So part of that is this community-wide approach because we want to kind of minimize the spread whenever we can. At this point, from what I understand, the viruses, especially COVID, people have had mild symptoms, less than severe symptoms, but for people who are immunocompromised or older or high risk, it still represents a risk to them and to their health. So what can you do? And again, this is not a statement, sort of in any position statement, but staying up to date on vaccines, including the flu vaccine and COVID-19 is recommended. Washing your hands with soap and hot water for 20 seconds recommended. Not sneezing into your hands, but into your elbow. Staying home when you're sick. A few years ago, there's something to be said about working through your sickness. That philosophy is gone. We have to keep people safe. So if you're sick, and especially if you're symptomatic, stay home. And the recommendation is that you test yourself so you can rule out COVID. And again, if you feel like you're vulnerable or ill, wear a mask. There's no judgment anymore. It's not a mandate, but I think we have students here. When you walk into school buildings, you'll see some students in masks and stuff, and nobody really thinks twice about it because it's become part of our norm. So those are little things that you can kind of do to keep yourself safe. We also added a little COVID-19 information link on our home page and our website, which will open up to some resources, some FAQs, which are frequently asked questions. So we are going to be reporting to the state our COVID numbers and to the Department of Health. We're not obligated to do it publicly, but I'll keep the board updated if anything happens or anything changes. But as you see, there's been a handful of cases, and knock on wood, fortunately, it hasn't really affected the operation of our schools, our district. Trustee Trent.
Mr. Santana, is it possible that you can include what you send to the state and an update when you send it?
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We're going to be collecting that data on Fridays, so it wouldn't be in tomorrow's update.
That's fine.
But subsequent updates, of course. Moving on to some more fun stuff. Generation Citizen, I had the good honor of visiting a couple of classrooms. I went to Mr. Scroley's classroom, where students advocated for student mental health days. I'm going to get into that a little bit in a second. I also visited Mr. Plouffe's class, and their class advocated for single color graduation gowns. And this is all based on problem-based learning, PBL. Some of the other topics that the students have explored are later start times for the high school, starting language instruction before 7th grade, and peer-mediated instruction and intervention. For those who are not familiar, Generation Citizen just teaches kids the civic process. If you want change to happen, what is the process by which you can make that change? So in the cases of these two classes, In the first instance, when we're talking about mental health days, the students basically said that there's been an increase in mental health concerns and a need for people just to have some time off, decompress. So we talked about it. We talked about how built into our attendance policy, students are allowed a certain number of absences anyway. But it might be a good idea to label those absences as a mental health day to kind of trigger guidance, mental health support staff, to let people know that, you know, a student could potentially be going through something versus just being home because they're not feeling well, which I thought was a great idea. The more controversial one is using the finger color gowns for graduation. There are a group of students that are really advocating for this. It's become more of a common practice in different school districts. And to the credit to those students, they used me as an example and when they were making their case, because in 2019, my former school where I worked at, where I was high school principal, we shifted to single color gowns. What I told the class is, you need to gather data, because if you feel something, doesn't mean that the student body feels it. So one of the things you can do is do a survey and really get actual data to see what the student body feels. And that's when you present that to the administration if we're going to contemplate a change. And you also have to contemplate all the stakeholders that are involved, parents, community members, and tradition. So what's fantastic about this process, it's not just about having a good idea, it's what do you do with that good idea and what are the steps you take. So none of these proposals are indicating any action moving forward. I know the students are going to follow up with the gown question, which may come up to the board eventually, but I want to see what the students said. The point of the story, great activity. It's tied to our seal of civic readiness, which is an accolade you get for graduation, which is great. And I'm really excited that we're offering that program in our social studies classes. Next, South Country Music Shines. I had the very good fortune of visiting our concerts at the high school. I went to the 2 nights of concerts. As you can see from the picture, that is our music staff. I do want to give them credit, but there was 7 different performing groups I got to see perform, and they were all fantastic. I also had the privilege of going to the middle school and watching 4 different groups perform at the middle school, everything from our 6th grade chorus to our 7th grade band. Again, all really great stuff. I was super impressed, and I do want to give a shout out to the music staff, including Ms. Wasson, Ms. Grunenberg, Ms. Finnegan, Ms. Valenti, and that's at the high school, and in our middle school, Ms. Bunk, Ms. Steinkamp, Mr. Sherlock, and Ms. Garcia, and of course our director of music, Victoria Hartman, for just putting together such a fantastic program. Super impressed by our middle school students and the level they're at. And obviously, I was impressed by the high school students. Our music students also spread holiday cheer. They do community service events, like spreading some, the chamber choir visited the village to do some caroling. We also had high school students selected as all-county musicians. We all know about all-county athletes, but we also have all-county musicians. And 3 of our students were selected to perform at the NYSSBA All-State Conference up in Rochester this past week, which is a prestigious music contest. So I wanted to give them a shout out and acknowledge them for that. There's a concert at the middle school tomorrow that unfortunately I can't attend because I'll be attending a legislative meeting with some of the trustees tomorrow. But I encourage people to go out and support our music program. And I also wanted to say that one of our trustees paid the classrooms a visit with myself and brought her 100-year-old trumpet along that has a sort of a history to it. So the students kind of were sort of treated to a little historical lesson about music here in this area, got to see this actual 100-year-old trumpet. That was our board president, Ms. Felice, who had a good time in our music classes and actually played a couple of chords for our kids. So thank you for visiting. Moving on, great South Country happenings. I was interviewed with BHS TV. Great interview, very organic. I'm hoping one day we could really expand that TV program because our students are super talented and I want to be able to do more with that medium. Our student council continues to do great things and looking out for our community. This was just them engaged in a food drive. Athletes helping out others. They raised $2,500 for the Special Olympics for taking a nice cold plunge in the bay, so shout out to them. Our 5th graders, thanks to the generosity of the South Country Educational Foundation, our entire 5th grade is going to get to visit New York, the Long Island Aquarium and engage in some interactive activities. Kramer students explored some Native American culture the week before Thanksgiving, so it was fun visiting with them and participating in that. And they also got to observe Pajama Day on that day, and I was a little bit jealous because I have to wear a suit. Although I told the young kids that I wear this to sleep, so it saves me time in the morning. And Bubbles. high school students in photography class doing digital photography through Bubbles. I just thought it was awesome, and I want to share. The point of this is there's a lot of great things happening. I like to share little bits with the community and with the Board of Trustees, because there are a lot of things that are happening. So I do encourage people to visit our website. Stories are posted. Follow our various social media platforms so that you can be sort of up to date with what's happening. But today we have super special guests in our audience, and I want to give a big fat shout out to our football program and our varsity football team. I put together some pictures from the entire season because in reality it was a fantastic season. So what I wanted to say, and really congratulate the football team. I know Coach Fabian, some of the other coaches are not here. Mood is here, so I want to welcome him. But congratulate all the coaches just for an outstanding season and great introduction to me to Belport's storied football history. Obviously, I heard a lot about Belport football when I took on this new role. And needless to say, the program far surpassed my expectations. And while we really had a tough loss at the championship game, I'm hoping that doesn't diminish the amazing season that this team had. There's so much pride associated, not just in the victories you had, but the manner in which you guys carry yourselves, the sportsmanship, the discipline. So above and beyond victories and losses, the camaraderie among players, I just want to give you a very informal shout out, and so I appreciate it. I'm really glad that I could, just by association, I could be a part of this, because I did nothing to help the football team be successful, except cheer you guys on, but it's great to share in that pride. And at this time, I want to introduce our athletic director, Mr. Patrick Hayes, who's going to say a couple of words about our players, and we're going to formally acknowledge them.
Podium.
All right. First and foremost.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you have to come a little bit
You want
closer.
closer?
It doesn't show the mic.
You won't be on camera.
Tilt it back, it's got wheels.
And then go right over and in front of me.
Can you just tell us when he's in
Tell me when I'm there.
camera?
Am I good, Vic?
Good, thank you.
President Felice, Board of Trustees, Mr. Santana, I would like to formally thank you for your acknowledgement of this great accomplishment. Belport football has a long-standing tradition of excellence, and that has been reinvigorated over the last 2 seasons with back-to-back county championships. Championships are no easy task. It's easy to say at the beginning of a season, we're going to be champions, but so few get to say that at the end of the season. And I say to you gentlemen, congratulations. I say to your teammates, your coaches, congratulations. And to us as a whole school community, congratulations to us. Because it is a tremendous recognition for us as a community that, especially here at Belport football, there are many hands that make this entire system work. I say with great honor to introduce Coach Fabian, who was Conference 2 Coach of the Year. Unfortunately, Coach Fabian was not able to be here this evening. His assistant coaches in present, Mr. Kyle Moot, Belport alumni. As a player, he won championship. Now as a coach, another championship. Great honor. His other fellow assistants who are not able to be here, Mr. Sean Chavius, Mr. Will Strano, and Mr. Kyle Schwicke, Stephen Schwicke, I apologize, and Kai Watkins. Cousin of Belport, from Belport, but from Longwood. Now, I want to recognize the true leaders and how championships are actually made is through the leadership of our student athletes and of our students of why we're here. You could have the best coaching staff out there, but if there's not buy-in from you as the leaders, the senior captains of this team, it doesn't work. So I say to you guys, great job. And it's not just a testament to your athletic prowess, but it is a true testament to who you are as individuals, and that you understood that there's more to the game other than just yourself. You have to be leaders. You're each unique in your own leadership ability, and I recognize that, the coaching staff recognizes that, so great job to you. First and foremost, you guys give it a nice little wave. All county
up and join you.
Yeah, all county selection, Justin Miles, number 9. Come on up, Justin. Number 61, another all-county selection, Louis Rodriguez. Unfortunately, Mr. Alex Brigadier could not be here. He was also a all-county selection senior captain. Mr. Dante Phillips, all-county selection, as well as the recipient of the Joseph Best Running Back in the county, as well as a Hanson Award winner, not finalist. So he was a representative for that as well. So Dante Phillips. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Jason Hunt, number 35, all-county recognition, recipient of the Conference 2 Player of the Year, as well as the Rob Burnett Defensive Player of the Year for Suffolk County. Congratulations. And besides football alone, in the building, I've been approached by numerous, as everyone knows, I'm new to the community, getting to know people, and they say, you and your teammates are a joy to be around. You do what you need to do. You're leaders in the community, and it is evidence that you had the results. My memo to you will be, out of every negative, you have to take a positive. Find your new Long Island championship in life. You didn't come to reach that one goal that you had. Find that next Long Island championship, whether it be in college, whether it be as a career, as a father, or anything along those lines. So always have that in the back of your heads, because you did fall short. That is reality. But take that motivating factor somewhere else. Congratulations, guys. And I would
Before we do certificates, wait, don't let
Come on,
the
boys.
guys
You're not done yet.
We typically do this. We go through all the pomp and circumstance, and then
Yes.
we forgot to give the board a chance to
Yes.
make their comments, and the guys are already gone. So we'll go around the table for those trustees who would like to make a comment on, and just, remind you of just how much we appreciate your work.
Yeah, I played in a Suffolk County Championship game myself. We lost in the Suffolk County Championship. To watch the way you guys reacted, from the coaching staff to the players, at the beginning of that game, that reminded me of what I went through, and I said, wow, they're gonna go do that. To see that kind of camaraderie, to see you guys galvanize together and play and respect, and to do what you did with the class and quality that you did was very impressive and a great representation of Bellport.
Thank you, trustee.
Congratulations to everybody, coaches and players. I too played football in high school, and it was such a important experience in my life. I could still smell my locker room from 30 years ago. Like all those different little things that, the memories that you made over these years, they're with you forever. I haven't played an organized football game in over 32 years, and I hate to admit that, but I still think about it like it was yesterday, which is why I love it. The saddest part about the end of a season, especially a championship season, is for the seniors, I never get to see you guys play again unless I get to see you on TV play someday in college, because some of you were really extraordinary, and I love the game so much. I was at all watching some of you play. And for those of you that don't follow high school sports enough, to win the Joe Sipp Award and the Rob Burnett Award, those are extraordinary. And to be a Hanson finalist is really, really hard. And I can begrudgingly think of why I think Dante should have won it. And believe me, I can draw diagrams and I can argue with the best of them like I'm an attorney in court as to why I thought he should have won it. But he didn't, and that's just kind of the way it goes. So it's been fun to watch you play. One of the things that struck me this year in watching this team, and I knew it last year, was the efforts and the emotion and every bit of heart and soul that's put into this by your coaches. Don't ever forget that. There was just some awesome stuff to just watch these guys, how much of themselves they put in to watch you succeed. Because when you get older, you get to my age, I've won all the football games and basketball games I ever needed to win in my life. It's over. So when I coach kids and things like that, they're there for you guys. And they're giving their knowledge through you, and they love it as much as you guys do. And they get the privilege of being involved in it. So just remember that as you see them and as your senior years wind down, what they put in for you. Because it's a great group you got there. So congratulations, and good luck. And I hope I get to see some of you play on TV at whatever level is next.
Thank you.
Trustee Flicker?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to catch any games this year because of my schedule on Saturdays, but I'm an alumni for Bellport also. I know you guys. I played basketball, and I never got a chance to even taste the championship game, you know what I mean? So I commend you guys, congratulations, And I graduated with Schwicke and Shrano, so I've actually seen championships before, with Edwin, so it's a big thing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Trustee Trent?
Well, I was never really an athlete in school, but I really do. I was very impressed watching you guys play. I really was, and I do want to say congratulations, and it's quite an achievement, quite an achievement.
Vice President Hayes?
I did not play football in high school. But all the games I went to this year, I went with someone who did. And the feedback that I got was a real appreciation for watching the plays as they were called and your follow through. And I was able to pick up some of the ones that I thought were particularly remarkable, and I learned the names of a few of them. You did one of your quarterback option plays, right almost on the 50-yard line where I was sitting, and it was a thrill to watch. But I'm going to join also with Trustee Puccini that the thing that most impressed me was your demeanor and your self-control when things were difficult. And I think that that was, that's the thing that made me proudest. Besides the fact that every single game that I went to, you won. So, thank you very much.
Good luck charm. And I just want to say that there's so much work that obviously goes into your performance before the game actually occurs. And I never watched a football game from the sidelines before until Bellport. And how you guys get hit and the fact that you can remain standing was remarkable to me. And that only means the conditioning that goes into all the work that you have to put in beforehand, and it was very evident. But the whole atmosphere is good. It's been good year after year, and the energy that you generate when you're throughout the hallways in your high school, when you're preparing for the games, when you're preparing for your championships, your morning breakfasts that you have, and all the traditions that you have throughout the week as you prepare for a game. Those are very special to Bellport, and from what we're told, are unique to Bellport. And you've continued on with those traditions, and I know that we're going to continue on with those traditions long into the future. So on behalf of the entire board and the district, we couldn't be any more proud of you, and we do have certificates that we'd like you and Coach Moot, if you would come up as well.
Take a little photo.
And we'll take some.
And President Feliz, to your point about their hits, I broke a rib watching the games. That's how weak I am.
Guys, anyone want to say anything? You guys good?
Yeah, let's hear from you, yes.
Nothing?
They did their speaking on the field.
That's right.
Board of Trustees, you want to pose for a picture with the team?
Yes.
You want us all?
Get everyone in. No, we can all, let's all go in. Yes, absolutely.
Up front?
Yep, we'll all go around front.
No, go ahead, take your time.
Yeah, we'll go ahead. You guys going on?
Probably that way.
We're gonna face this
I'll be in the back somewhere.
Yeah, I'm with you on the back.
You'll be in the front somewhere.
Peek through. There you go. Let's take two different ones. All right, ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to take another one. Here we go. 1, 2. All set.
And guys, don't forget all the alumni who are standing in the stands and cheering you guys on. You guys will be there.
That's you guys. That's right. Congratulations.
Of course.
Now I see. Thanks for the.
Students are obligated to stay. Things to do, football players. There's some people are here for credit for participation in government, so there's homework and stuff that comes with that. All right, so let's continue real briefly. As always, I'd like to end. How to stay in touch, please visit our website. There's a community portal there that will give you access to our email system, should you be interested. There's also the Superintendent's Corner that's updated on a monthly basis, which includes my contact information, my Twitter feed, and a weekly update I provide the district and the community. So if you want to stay in touch, please visit our website at any time. So that concludes my report. and I'll turn it back over to President Felice.
All right. And just as a reminder that you have an appointment with the photography
Yes,
for a new portrait.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
that they offered to do for you.
One of the fringe benefits of visiting the Hyde.
Right.
All right. I'm gonna
All
go-
right, so we're on to trustee and advisory committee reports. We'll start with trustee Barry. Any reports? Okay. Mr.
Nothing.
Chin? Mr. Flippin? Any
Not right
reports? Trustee Trent?
No report from me.
Okay. Vice
Can I make
President
a
Hayes?
comment?
Yes, please.
Okay, on Saturday, I went to the girls' indoor track meet at Suffolk Community College at the Brentwood campus. It was the first time I've been in that environment in 15 years. And I had to get reacclimated to the order that they do things, and it was quite amazing to me. But the thing that most amazed me was speaking with the coach afterwards and finding out that there's close to 70 student athletes on that team, which to me was a phenomenal number to have for indoor winter track. So that's one number. The other number I wanted to tell you about is from last night at the Bellport Middle School concert, and I'm going to focus on the sixth graders. The number of sixth graders who were in our performing music program is approximately 60% of the entire student body in the sixth grade. And I thought that was a real testament to our music program, which also has a long tradition in South Country. And it's a testament to our students who wanted to all be involved in this program. So I came away, it was a very heartwarming experience for me.
Agreed. And a nice sized crowd in that auditorium. It's beautiful to see.
Does that conclude your report? Okay,
I'm sorry, Mrs. Felice, I do have one more.
go right ahead.
So last night, I believe it was, I was at the Health and Safety Committee. And there was a couple of things on the agenda, but one of the things that I wanted to mention to the board was a concern that was raised about doors being propped open that grant access into the building. And a couple of the committee members kind of felt a concern about that topic, and as did I. So if we could, and I think I shared this in the committee, but if we could look into some kind of mechanism that can either notify security or administration if a door is propped open for an extended period of time, and can we also send a reminder to staff, reminding them that, you know, we shouldn't really have the door propped open for an extended period of time.
So I couldn't agree with you more. Doors should not be propped open in a high school, any school building for that matter. So I'll definitely follow up on that concern. It just shouldn't be a practice at all.
Mhm.
And we have enough fobs and access to teachers who have IDs to be able to open doors. But thank you for the sharing.
Appreciate it.
All right, and then I'll just finish up the trustee reports, just to report that I also enjoyed attending the high school concert and the middle school concert. Just to echo the sentiments that already have been mentioned, it was just a wonderful performance, and I was so glad to be there. And then on December 6th, on December 5th, was able to join the superintendent in visiting all the high school music classes, because I just felt so compelled to thank them personally about the wonderful performances that they gave the district. Also want to remind the Board of Trustees, the advisory committees, as Mr. Trent mentioned, the Health and Safety Committee meeting was last night. Thursday night, December 8th at 4:30 is the Teaching and Learning Committee. These committees are open to the public as well. All our committee meetings are meeting live right here in the boardroom again. And December 13th is Strategic Planning Committee at 5:30 here. And then on December 15th is the Finance and Facilities Advisory Committee at 4:30, also here at Central Office. So check your committees that you are assigned to. And I do try to make all of them. I cannot make Teaching and Learning this week because I will be at the same Nassau Suffolk School Board advocacy with Vice President Hayes, Trustee Pacini, and also the superintendent. So, and then finally, there is a Compass Unity meeting, December 13th here, 2 o'clock in district office. That also is a hybrid meeting, so there is virtual access to that. And then the South Country Community Leadership Network meeting run by the superintendent. It will be Monday, December 19th, 10 a.m. here in District.
Ms. Felice, I just had a comment based on something Mr. Trent said.
Certainly.
Can we look into, I had this thought the other day, and kind of close to the propping doors open. I think we need some better signage on our doors, entryways, and things like that. When we have athletic events and things like that, you know, it would be helpful if we had signs that said, hey, enter this way for the basketball, or whatever else it is. You know, you go to the middle school, the basketball team last week at my son's game, they play in that gym, they play in the east gym by the main office in the front door, so most people might think, well, let's park there and walk up. You walk all the way up there and the door's locked and you can't get in. It would be nice if there was a sign somewhere that said, you know, athletic team entrances here. I was at an away game for my son's basketball game, and you pull in the back of South Ocean Middle School in Patchogue, and there's a gigantic sign, gym entrance here. When you pull up to these things for games, and I go to a lot of games, marking helps you just from walking around and wandering, and then people banging on doors and somebody letting them in. It's just something to kind of consider,
Absolutely.
maybe looking around, so.
All right, any other final thoughts? Okay. All right, we're up to public commentary agenda items. Do we have any cards? No cards. Okay. And we will move on. Okay. The Board of Trustees, so what we're going to do is we're going to take all the agenda items instead of item by item. So you can recommend to us all of them at one time. We're going to take all the remaining items in one resolution, because the Board of Education has to go back into executive session after we conclude.
So starting with items in curriculum G, because for items, there's no actionable items except for
Oh, actually, I'm
courses.
ahead of myself. You're right. We're going to start with items for discussion.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, so we're at the items for discussion portion of our agenda. And tonight, we have a very special guest, Mr. Jack Burke. He is our Director of STEM, Mathematics and Science, and he'll be presenting new course proposals. So I'm going to bring that up on the display.
Mr. Briggs, would you mind moving the podium over to the corner like we usually have? Not so far. Come back just a little bit. How is that, Vinny? Is that good?
Turn a little bit. There you go.
Good.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Santana. I want to thank you for having me here, as well as Ms. Doyle and the Board of Trustees. I'm excited to be here to talk to you about some of the planning that I've been involved in, and some updates and upgrades in our STEM department course offerings. And so about a year ago, because it was last November, I proposed a question to the mathematics teachers at Bellport High School, and it was really about thinking we had come through COVID. COVID had many impacts on everything about schooling. We were in a school year last year that was getting back to normal. And so at that time, it was like, let's really think about our course offerings and the purpose of our course offerings. And so I posed the following question. I posed the question, in our course offerings, particularly our elective course offerings, are these courses that we offer, are they current? Are they relevant? And what's the purpose of the course? And so having a tremendous amount of conversation with math teachers in the department over several weeks and the ensuing months after that, really looking at each of the courses that we offer as electives and really looking at them from that lens. We had to determine if the course purpose still existed, if it was something that everyone could speak to, and if it needed to be updated. And so in asking questions, there were places where, depending on who you would ask what the purpose of that course was, you might get a different answer. And so when we were having situations where different purposes were being discussed about particular courses, it's like, well, we need to have some consistency in that. And so what we have landed on is looking at these particular 4 courses and thinking about how we upgrade our course offerings with the proposed courses that I'm bringing to you here this evening. And so our goal for these elective courses really is that we would provide current and relevant courses for our student learning, and that these courses would provide increased opportunities for furthering mathematics learning. So, and do you have a clicker?
I can click for you.
Okay.
Don't do that.
One more, and one more. So these are the 4 courses that I bring to you this evening. Explorations in Data Science, Pre-Calculus, AP Pre-Calculus, and AP Computer Science Principles. So for Explorations in Data Science, throughout the nation, there is a trend to bring more information, more course offerings about data science to high school students. And that also is gaining traction on Long Island. And so they're, in speaking with other directors on Long Island, speaking to directors across the country, this idea of putting data science courses in place is a very current trend to provide our students with the foundations for understanding data that's being presented, how to work with that data, how to manipulate the data, and how to understand when data is being provided to them, so that it also provides them the foundations for statistics as well. Make sure I'm on the right page here. That particular course, Explorations in Data Science, will replace our currently existing college prep algebra course. College prep algebra was one of those courses where the purpose was different depending on who you would ask. And so we want to provide our students with a very meaningful experience, and so we are planning to replace college prep algebra with the Explorations in Data Science. The next course is Pre-Calculus. The Pre-Calculus course would be aligned to offerings that districts across Long Island, across New York, and across the country offer as after Algebra 2 offerings. That particular course would replace our current Advanced Algebra course. The Advanced Algebra course has stood as a kind of pre-calculus course. We want to make a solid pre-calculus course to provide students with that opportunity. The next course is AP Pre-Calculus. Now, this is exciting because the College Board has just created this particular course, and the first implementation of AP Pre-Calculus will be in the fall of 2023. And I am proposing that we start that particular course in the fall of 2023 so that we would be among the first districts in the country to be able to offer that course. It's a newly created course. It will prepare students for other college-level mathematics and science courses. The content and skills are foundational for careers not only in mathematics, but also social science and data science. Students would experience modeling real-world data. They would do exploration of multiple representations and the typical symbolic manipulation that would be involved in a pre-calculus course. And the expectations would be that the content has been designed to prepare students for taking AP calculus after that as well. This slide shows some mathematics pathways about this. One of the things that is very interesting about the AP Pre-Calculus course is it provides another alternative for students to take an AP math course in their high school career, even if they were not accelerated at the middle school level. So students who were not accelerated at middle school, came in as ninth graders taking Algebra 1, would still have that opportunity to get to this AP Pre-Calculus course as a senior. Where that kind of fits into our program, we plan that the AP Pre-Calculus course will replace the current honors pre-calculus course that we already have in place. In developing the course, it would be aligned with our proposal of the other pre-calculus course so that we would have pre-calculus and AP pre-calculus. For students who are starting Algebra 1 in ninth grade, or even if they took Algebra 1 as an 8th grader, they would still have that opportunity to take the AP pre-calculus course in high school. The prerequisite of those are geometry and Algebra 2. And we've done a tremendous amount of work here in the district and had great results in raising our AP Scholar designation, our AP Capstone Diploma participation, and the designation of AP Capstone Diploma. And this will play into that as well, providing our students with an additional opportunity to take an AP course. this slide shows what our current progression from geometry, I just chose geometry as the starting place there, shows our current progression of courses. And the next slide shows you these 3 new courses that are being proposed, where they would fit. So they fit in the same places because they're replacing other courses as more upgraded courses. The AP Computer Science Principles course is a course that the College Board created a few years ago. It has been widely implemented on Long Island and across the country. And so that is another course that we're wanting to provide our students with, because this course it acts as an entry-level AP course. So the only prerequisite of this particular course is Algebra 1. And so students who have successfully completed Algebra 1 could get into this Computer Science Principles course and let that provide them an opportunity for bringing them into more STEM-related types of courses to set them up for STEM careers in the future as well. With our current computer programming and our current AP Computer Science program, these would be the 3 computer programming type courses that we would offer at the high school. Our process, currently we are working with a collegial circle through Western Suffolk BOCES to plan the AP pre-calculus course. We're prepared to have the new courses in our BHS course catalog. In the spring, the AP requires an audit of the teachers, so the teachers will prepare their syllabus for approval. In the summer, for the AP courses, our teachers would attend these AP Summer Institutes, and also we would do local curriculum writing for each of those courses, so the teachers would be prepared to teach those in the fall, and then in the fall, the courses would be implemented. And I want to thank all of you for your consideration, and are there any questions that any of you have at this time?
Questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
You first.
Okay. Could you just go back and say again what you said about going from Algebra 1 to the computer science course? And can you show the other pathways of other STEM courses that would be available after that?
Sure. For instance, our computer science, AP Computer Science course, the prerequisite of that is actually Algebra 2, because the programming that the students learn in that particular course has a lot of mathematical implications in it, and so they do want that course for students to have a strong mathematical background, okay? So typically the students who take that course would be juniors or seniors. For the AP Computer Science Principles course, however, the prerequisite is only Algebra 1. So we would, our plan is that we would offer this to 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, and it would allow students then to get into this entry-level AP course, thereby helping them kind of gain a vision about taking AP courses, but also that they would be in this entry-level STEM-related course, so that they then would be able to think about continued computer programming, but also the other courses that are even CTE courses that are in the high school, such as the robotics course, the engineering course, and so on.
Thank you. You hit that buzzword I was going to ask you about how this feeds into an engineering type curriculum or opportunities for our kids.
Any other questions? Yes.
Not a question, but just a comment. I mean, I think this makes sense, seeing where some students may select to go, and it just looks like a fantastic opportunity for students based on what I've seen.
Yeah, if I can just comment just from past experience, you know, one of the things that makes students competitive is, in many instances, the rigor of their math program. And a lot of people will say that math courses are like the gateway courses to success.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't take these courses in high school, it kind of puts you behind the eight ball. So I'm really pleased that we're looking to really increase the rigor of the courses, have courses that are more meaningful in terms of looking at a student's trajectory if they want to pursue engineering, as you suggested. And yeah, it's fantastic stuff. I think this is just kind of the beginning of us kind of looking at things, and I like the fact that we're we're looking at things, we're evaluating it, we're assessing it, and we're evolving. So, thank you.
And if I can add just real quickly, because these courses are replacing pre-existing courses, we can do these upgrades without an increase in FTE as well. So that is always a positive part of that story.
Impressive feat.
Thank you.
The fact that you're so excited about it has excited me, and you're talking about calculus. So, but anything that can enhance our capstone program, I'm excited about. I was so excited when the initial presentation came about and how it's developed and how well our students are doing, and those presentations that they give at the Teach and Learn Committee. It's just remarkable, everything that we thought that program would be in teaching them research skills to ready them for college is materializing. So this is only going to enhance that even more. Can you
And
just
very
speak
much
to that?
The dream came true with that, right?
There you go, okay.
And I do believe that as we put these courses in, that the dream will continue.
Okay, all right, I'm in. Anybody else?
I have
Yes.
one more question. The data science course, and is there a separate statistics course, or is that kind of rolled together now?
We have an AP statistics course that is already existing at the high school.
How, if in any way, do those fit in with like our Generation Citizen project-based learning, where they've got to do their surveys and their analysis?
I think
Does
that
any
is a
of this
great
fit in?
connection to make there because of the fact that within the Generation Citizen, but also within the capstone program, because the students are doing research and having to gather and interpret data, that these courses are all working together so that students in the humanities department, as they're doing that work, they are using their mathematics skills as well. So I think that this is a great way that we are making these connections so that they're not in these isolated silos of work. The students are seeing the connections between all the different categories.
I'm going to ask one more question, and it's about when the students present capstone to the committee. Do you anticipate having them present again?
Yes.
Later on in the year? I just wonder if we should, if we can, if it's advisable, you talk about that in cabinet, to publicize that particular meeting of Teach and Learn, because it was so impressive that others who may not know about our capstone program should see it before their students get to that level, to know what we've put in place for them once they do reach that high school level.
I think the
So
more
just
that
a
we
consideration.
can promote the wonderful things that are happening in the district, I think that's a terrific idea to put that out there so that more people see those opportunities that
Yes.
are coming up for their children.
Okay, good.
So, and one quick statement before we talk about the course is my stepdaughter actually is employed doing data analysis. She travels the world, she does irrigation systems in Africa, all based on data. I don't understand it because she could sit at a laptop and there's all these spreadsheets and all these numbers. Her job is literally to manipulate data and to present projects for governments and stuff. So there's certainly real world applications to that. So really excited to see that because I wish I would have had courses like that when I was younger so I could help not only appreciate data, but also appreciate how data can be manipulated. So really cool.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that because, again, it really is about the current and relevant nature
Sure.
of the data course.
So at this point in the agenda, may I suggest that the board vote on taking action on the 4 courses we just heard about? So to that end, the administration recommends the approval of new course recommendations contained in F1 through F4.
Okay. Need a motion and a second? A motion by Vice President Hayes, second by Trustee Trent. Was your hand up? For item F1 through 4. All those in, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Doyle, for your participation in this as well, and all of our teachers who were involved in making this happen. Thank you all. Again, the goal ultimately is to have our students be as competitive as possible and as best prepared for the world as possible. This is definitely a step in that direction.
There you go. On your way.
All right, so going back to my final item for discussion. It is a Director of Instructional Technology / Security Supervisor. I want to start with the Director of Technology. At our last board meeting, I kind of emphasized to the board very briefly that how imperative it was that the district secure a director of technology. Now, this does not represent a new position, but rather a position that has not been filled in a couple of years. And again, considering the threats of cyber attacks that some school districts have had the misfortune of having to deal with, we know that civil service got hacked, the 5th precinct got hacked, the county got hacked. It's a real threat because basically what's happening these days is that these outside agents, I'll call them, a lot of which come from Eastern Europe and other countries, are seeing school districts as being vulnerable because they don't have the resources like a Google will have to protect themselves. So that's one of the big major functions, is just to keep on top of the latest strategies to protect districts, collaborating with Eastern Suffolk BOCES and different agencies that help protect the district. Education Law 2D speaks to all of the information that we have contained in our digital infrastructure, most of which is confidential. So how do we keep that confidentiality and protect data from our community members? Of course, there is planning for the implementation and evaluation of instructional technology, what that looks like in the classroom. Currently, we have content directors that speak to pedagogy, which is how you teach a class. But how do we use all these digital platforms that we have? And we really need someone to be at the forefront of that and kind of leading that charge, which includes providing professional learning opportunities for teachers, coaching to best support our instructional initiatives. It's securement of equipment that's not included here. I gave the board a sample job description, but I really do think it's imperative that we start moving in this direction for the reasons I've stated. And I want to open this one position up for discussion or questions.
Anybody have any additional questions?
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yep.
So
So-
I'm glad to hear that
Yeah,
tonight.
so we want
Thank
to
you.
proceed with posting it. We're going to find ways to actually cover the expense of this position this year, and obviously we'll budget for it for the following year. So it's not going to represent any additional strain on the district. It's about cutting in other places to make this happen. And some of that has happened already.
But you said that the position is not new, that we had it in the
We've had
past.
it, correct. And our external auditor, as part of their audit report of the district, suggested that we re-implement this position as well. So it is a standard position in school districts, especially now. I think I've been to 2 cybersecurity conferences this year already. I know Ms. Doyle has participated as well. We really need someone at the lead.
And you've been sharing that throughout your,
Correct.
early tenure here, and the board is supportive of wanting to take those protections, and especially since we've seen the threats that are happening right here in our locale.
The other sort of safety, and now this is digital safety, is also safety of the schools. Our safety officers do a fantastic job, totally supportive, but I think we really do need someone to coordinate their efforts, to have a point person that building administrators can talk to, just to ensure that we're doing things correctly and efficiently. This includes, of course, collaboration with building administration, but also law enforcement when we go over our safety drills and protocols for the district to make sure we keep our community safe. It includes collaboration with event coverage. Of course, we can think of sporting events that we have coverage for, but anytime we have events that are open to the public, we have to be mindful of security. Coordinates our safety officer schedules, and all those types of things that goes along with supervising actually 8 buildings if you count our district office, and again, community events. And finally, participates and coordinates response intervention and CPI, which is crisis prevention and intervention training. These are all like de-escalation techniques. We want someone to be that person that we can send to these trainings that can then turnkey that training to our safety officers to better serve our community, especially when we're moving toward a restorative approach to our student management. I think it's something that the district also needs. So I'm going to open that up for discussion as well.
Again, I think you have our support from wanting to change the name of responder to safety officer, since that's what they are doing in our schools. And I think this only goes hand in hand. Anybody else want to add to that?
Sure.
Do we need to approve these? And if so, can we do it tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, there are existing positions. I'm asking for consensus or board approval to proceed with posting these positions, and then I'll keep the board posted before we actually
Yeah, we vote
finalize.
when we hire, right?
Correct,
Right.
obviously.
Thank
So you
you.
have our consensus to proceed. Right?
I just want to know in terms of the posting, is this a position on the table of organization?
For security supervisor, yes.
Okay.
So,
Is the director of instructional technology on the table of organization?
not in the current organizational chart. So we're working on our organizational chart.
Okay. So, I mean, so if you're authorizing a posting, it's my recommendation that you simultaneously amend the organizational chart to add that position to the organizational chart, and then provide the discretion for the superintendent to provide salary range. Because those two things will, in the long term, affect your budget.
What I'll do for our next board meeting is I'll have a draft organizational chart ready for board approval, as well as some ideas with salary range.
Thank you.
All right, and that concludes my superintendent's report. And so I'll turn the agenda over to President Solis.
We'll need your recommendations now for, we're going to take item G, H, I together.
So the administration recommends approval of agenda items G, 1 and 2, H, sorry, let me refer back to my sheet, I apologize.
H1.
H1, and I, 1 through I5.
Okay. All right, so we'll take that all in one resolution, G1 through 1 and 2, H1, and I 1 through 5. Need a motion and a second, please. Motion by trustee Barry, seconded by trustee Raphael. Flippin, I'm sorry. Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. That brings us to our last public commentary for the night, for non-agenda items. Do we have any cards? No cards. Okay. Closing remarks by board members. Any closing remarks?
We need to leave the meeting open, I think,
Oh, that
in
is
order to
correct.
go back
Yeah, but
into
you-
exec session.
Thank you for
You
that.
still should do your
point.
closing remarks, because people are probably gonna leave.
Well, closing remarks,
Yeah.
yes, but
Okay.
just don't
We're not
close the
closing the
meeting
meeting.
yet.
Gotcha, so we'll accept closing remarks, but the board will recess into executive session. We do not expect to discuss any other business items after we come back, simply just to close the meeting. So the secretary and IT will still have to remain, even though we're going back into executive session. So at this time, are there any closing remarks?
I'll just make one, I thought tonight's meeting was excellent in terms of both the academic and the athletic. I think it does show how well-rounded and where we are as a district, which is terrific.
Trustee Barry, don't forget the music.
Music.
Oh, equally.
I heard it last night. And last night.
Nothing for me.
Okay.
Nothing
Everybody on
for
this
me.
side? And what I'll say now, even though we're not adjourning, just want to wish everyone a happy and healthy holiday season in whichever way you choose to celebrate. And a happy and healthy new year. We'll see you again in January. We need a motion to go into executive. Oh, you
How
did
about
it.
that?
There you
President
are.
Solis?
We need a motion to go into
I'll make the
executive
motion.
session. Motion, and for the purposes of legal counsel. Motion by trustee Trent, seconded by trustee Barry. All those in favor? The motion passes unanimously. We are now back in executive session. Thank you.
Can we go to the executive washroom?
Take a 5-minute break.